Here we have a video that is going to give you a little information about how to do the outline for paper 3. Specifically, it's going to give you an example of how to take your idea gathering grid for paper 3 assignment and convert it into part of your outline assignment. So what I've got here is this is the grid that I made. One row, remember I only made one row, you should have 4 rows. And what you have here is some ideas from the different articles on the topic of education. So that is what you have in this grid. You'll have 3 other rows though, 4 rows total. And what you're going to do is you're going to turn it into an outline assignment. So here is the document as a Word document. So if you prefer that, you can use that. Here's a preview of it. And then the other option that you have is you can use it as a Google document. So I'm going to open that up, and what I'm going to do is I have editing privileges, but when you open up, you won't. So what you'll have to do is one option is you can make a copy. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to write sample and then change that. So here we go. I'm making my own copy. Another thing that you can do is that you can, if you don't want to make a copy of it, what you can do is you can also download it as a Microsoft Word document, download it as a PDF, like fill it out and then upload it. So there's a couple different options there. So I've got my explanatory, here's our, we've got the file right here, that's the outline. So what I'm going to do is right now, what these do is these rows right here are what you're going to put in your body paragraphs. So here's the topic of the body paragraph, and then here is the evidence that you're using in the body paragraph to describe the topic. So right now we're skipping the introduction, and what we're doing is we're going to the subtopic. So the subtopic is education, and we've got evidence number 1, evidence number 2, and evidence number 3. So what we're going to do here is we've got paraphrased and cited ideas, and that's what, this is how we're going to write this. So what we've got is right now we've just got the topic of education, and I'm going to use this to show like how this can kind of be like a cyclical process where you might have to go back and change things based on what you're writing. So what I'm doing right now is I'm deleting the lines, since the lines are there for the idea being that like if it gets printed out, then you can write on the lines. So I'm just deleting those lines since we don't need those. So education, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to say about education, but remember that we want to connect it to inequality and social class. We can talk about it like, you know, maybe it's this, let's look at the evidence that we've got, the ideas that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to close that. Again, let's go back. So remember, this is the grid that I have. So we've got the ideas from Locke, that we have this example of this person who got education. Education was looked down poorly upon by her working class family. She was able to be more successful than her mother through education. And Iglesias, the idea that I wrote down from there is that education will be funded by taxes, and so that there's better outcomes for everyone, less income inequality. So, you know, I'm starting to notice some trends here. Here we've got these ideas, and I put the paragraphs here, that education is basically a requirement to enter the middle, and upper classes. Education used to be the great equalizer, but now not accessible. What has been engines of social mobility risks becoming the brakes. whatever your family education is, that continues from generation to generation. There should be more funding from taxes so that it can be funded and provide opportunities for social mobility for everyone. So I feel like there's, we've got a lot of like kind of some of the same ideas. So these all kind of go towards this idea that like making education accessible is good. So because Locke benefited from that, um, Iglesias thinks we can benefit from that. And I think that The Economist is showing that like the way that society's going, it's becoming stratified. So we need to change it so that it becomes better. So, I'm kind of going back and forth between what I have as like, my main idea. So education can help people, uh, have better lives, but it needs to be more widely available. So that's kind of what I'm going for. I might have to revise this. So evidence one is Locke improved her life/class by getting an education. So because, one thing is that she has the opportunity to fulfill her definitions of success where her mother wasn't. So we've got this idea here. We'll put that there. So we've got this idea from Locke. The idea, so now we've got an idea from a different article. So that so we've got this idea that Locke improved her life by getting an education. And I think I want to go maybe to The Economist, the idea that education is becoming more stratified. So poor education becoming worse. Or that's not actually like a good way to like describe it. So let's look up stratified so that I'm like kind of doing justice to what this word means. Stratify, form, or arrange into strata, arrange or classify. So I guess the idea being that, people are not changing their classes. They are staying within their classes. So education is becoming more stratified where people stay in the class that they are born into. It's becoming more stratified. And then I think the third evidence that I want to put into this idea is that giving more taxes to education can help society in general and make it possible for people like Locke to succeed. So here we go. We've got this basic paragraph. It's, we're starting out. It's kind of, again, it's a little bit basic, but it's a good place to start for, and I think the order of the ideas is pretty good. So, and then another thing we want to put in is put our citations. So we've got this idea from The Economist. And then we've got this idea, giving more taxes to education can help society in general, where more class mobility is possible. So this is from, so we've got, I'm going to put that from The Economist, and then I'm going to put, and I'm going to put this idea from let's see, who is that? Iglesias. So here we've got, that's how I took some ideas. I didn't use all the ideas from here, but I took some of these ideas from the topic, from ideas related to the topic of education, and I put them into this body paragraph that ended up being these 3 different ideas from the 3 different articles. So remember, there's a few different things you want to keep in mind, that you have to have a minimum of 3 body paragraphs and a minimum of 2 subtopics. And if you're reading some of the directions, that some of these subtopics, you can make them into 1 or 2 paragraphs. So if you're that you might not know until you actually start writing, but say you really liked some of your ideas in here, you wanted to put them all into your writing, what you could do is that you could maybe make this into a few different you could make this into 2 different paragraphs and include more evidence, more ideas. So, or, you know, maybe you just know that you'll end up writing more about that. But you have these minimums of 3 body paragraphs and 2 subtopics. And you may think, oh, what are the other restrictions with writing? Well, the other restrictions with the writing you can find out about going to the prompt and rubric. So that's going to be a good resource for you, where you can find out, here's the due dates, there's the articles that we're reading, here are kind of the directions, the audience, here's what you're doing in the introduction, here's what you're doing in the body paragraph. And you have this note here, a subtopic is often discussed in 1 paragraph, but it can be addressed in 2. So you have as many paragraphs as you need for each part of the paper, should be 3 to 4 pages, typed and double spaced using APA format. And those 3 to 4 pages do not include your sources. So that's a separate page. So don't type 2 to 3 pages and then add a separate page with your sources. So we'll go over that a little bit, but the idea is I want you to do this writing. I want you to write these topics out in a way that lets you discuss them thoroughly and bring in the examples that you need to. So I hope that little preview of going from this row to this outline helped you a little bit. Next, in the next video that I hope to make later this week, you'll see how to take an outline and make it into a paragraph. Good luck with your outlines.